Hey everybody, it's Beth. Welcome to Infinite Garden. Lately I've noticed on beauty YouTube that the 90s makeup trends are sort of in again. When I think of 90s makeup, I think about Cindy Crawford specifically. The reason I think about Cindy Crawford is because she and I had similar coloring. Our face structure and other things about us don't look even remotely alike. But I remember growing up, she was one of the only models who was, had brown hair and brown eyes, and they didn't try to make her into a blonde. And she was omnipresent. I remember she was in CoverGirl campaigns and everything else. She was everywhere, including Pepsi commercials on TV. Anyway, so I was going through pictures of Cindy Crawford from the early 90s, and I came across this picture, and I found this to be very beautiful and inspiring. So what I have today is a get ready with me. I'm going to attempt to recreate this particular look from Cindy Crawford's early days in the 90s. I think this is a very beautiful look and perfect for a night at the orchestra. So let's get into it. In an effort to fully channel the 90s, I'm going to tie my hair back with a black scrunchie. My face is clean and primed with Glossier's Future Dew, which is an oil-based serum primer. And I chose that one because if you look at Cindy's skin in this picture, and it's very radiant. Of course, she's so young in this picture and her skin is extremely glowy and radiant. And so I thought a radiant oil-based primer would be good. I do need to do a little bit of coverage, a little bit of color correcting, so I'm going to start with that. I'm going to use a little yellow color corrector under my eyes where I have some blueness. Cindy's skin really does look fantastic in this picture. I'm gonna use my Tom Ford Shade Illuminate foundation in Nude Ivory. Don't need very much of this. I'm gonna do one pump and see if that can get me there. She's not wearing much foundation. I had to change my light. I'm filming this at 4 p.m. and a lot of times I rely on daylight for my videos, and my daylight's kind of fading right now, so I'm using some alternate light, so bear with me a little bit. Hope you can see me well enough. I have my base on. I think it looks pretty good. It's still very dewy at the moment, but I do think I'm pretty well covered. The next thing I'm going to do is do my brows. If you look at Cindy's brow, she has a bit of a cool tone, a little bit deeper, and you can tell that she's got quite a lot of, I think, brow gel in. So I don't really have Cindy's brows. I wish I did. I wish I remember that brows did look like this in the early 90s. I plucked mine into oblivion practically, so now I'm using a little bit of grande brow these days and hoping for the best. It's taken me a while to figure out what brow pencil and product I want to use now that I'm not dyeing my hair platinum blonde, but I'm letting it be its silver color. And right here I've got a brow pencil by Hourglass in the color Ash. They do it back there where it's kind of a thin tail, so I'm not going to add too much to my tail. Glossier boy brow in the brows. Okay, that's pretty close. After all these months on a daily basis, I'm still working my way through my Fenty eye primer in Invisipink. It's really almost empty at this point. I'm kind of grinding the sides of the bottle to get product, but it works. It's still in there. I am determined to use every drop. I think Cindy's eye makeup is very interesting in this photo. It doesn't look like she's wearing very much eyeshadow at all. She has a bit of a smoky eye that's been done with a cool brown, and it looks like she has matte eyeshadow for sure. I see a little bit of lower lash eyeliner that seems to go from the corner to the center of the pupil, which feels very 90s. I remember in the 90s, a lot of people used to just do their eyeliner on the bottom right into the center of their eyes without blending it. This feels very familiar, although on her, of course, it doesn't look as harsh as I remember it looking in a lot of cases. It clearly was applied with a very fine point, and it looks like it's chocolate brown and then smudged out a little bit underneath, so that actually winds up looking, I think, great. Sometimes these trends at certain times get lost in translation or exaggerated to the point where it's something that we remember as a regrettable trend, but then when you see it done sort of on a supermodel, probably by a professional makeup artist, you can see, why they were doing what they were doing. Normally what I do is I deepen my crease to make it look like I have less of a hood. You can see my eye shape isn't so different from Cindy's. Her eyes are also sort of nearly hooded. They're not so different. So in her case, they didn't try to create a false crease, but they just deepened the inside of the eye just to smoke around the lid. So I'm gonna give that a shot. I'm gonna use Makeup by Mario's Master Mattes. This is a palette of neutral mattes. shades ranging from white to black. It's a nice palette and I think appropriate for trying to recreate a matte 90s neutral look. So here we go. With a big fluffy brush, I'm going to dip into this peach color that I like so much and just sweep. I can't tell if those are 2 shades of brown in her crease and then on her lid, or if it's 1 shade that's been buffed out really well. I think I'm gonna start next by I'm gonna blend into the crease with this color here. These colors are just numbered, so I guess this one is matte 6. So I used matte 3 so far all over my lid, and I'm going into matte 6 for my crease. I'm not going to do a lot more than this. I swear with muscle memory, I'm trying to go back to my normal pattern, which is to pack the outer lid, but I'm going to try to keep this pretty diffused and light, and I'm also bringing it forward because it looks like that's what she has. It looks like there's even deepening on the inside. It's kind of interesting. I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm looking at this and she has it looks like a cool dark brown blended out beautifully just at her lash line. I'm going to use a dense round pencil brush here, and I'm going to get into, on this palette, not the black, but this dark kind of neutral brown. This is matte 8. And I'm going to apply a very small amount of that directly to my lid right at the lash line, which is something I never do. I think I could blend this out just a little bit better, but I do think this is close to the color and I think it's pretty close to the effect. It's interesting to look at this picture because it feels different from how people do their makeup today. That cool depth right on her lid I think makes the whites of her eyes pop and really brings her eyes forward. I think it's a very good look. It's subtle, but it's enough that you know it's there. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about this so far. I'm going to attempt the eyeliner now. So she has eyeliner, it looks like, right under the waterline of her upper eye and then to the middle, like I said, on her lower lid. I'm going to use Pat McGrath's Permagel Ultra Glide pencil in Black Coffee. It's a very, very deep black brown, and as you can see here, I've got it sharpened to a pretty good tip. I love this eyeliner. Okay, and this goes right to the corner, so I'm gonna do a very super sharp line, really just deepening my lower lash line and not any thicker than that. I'm gonna bring it out a little bit because it looks like that's what she's got going on. It just extends just, but it's not a wing. It's in no way a wing. Okay, I don't know if you caught any of that. I'm really just touching it there. I'll do the same here. Just touching it right at the lash line, just to the middle. Really just joining them but not making a wing. Okay, so that's a really messy, it's a super messy eyeliner application for now, but I'm going to smudge it out. You guys, I think I might be making this a little too smudgy. Do not make a wing. Do not make a wing. Oh, it's challenging for me to try new makeup styles. Okay, Cindy, how am I doing? I think I'm a lot smudgier than our Cindy here. Yeah, for sure. I need to clean some of this up. Okay, I think that helped. Cindy just has a little bit of mascara on her eyes, and so I'm going to use Pat McGrath's Dark Star. I'm not going to go overboard and apply a ton of coats, but it does look like she has top and bottom lash mascara on, so I am going to do both. Oh shoot. It's so hard for me not to go ham on these things. I'm looking at Cindy's makeup and my own, and I feel like mine looks a little more intense, but I'm trying here. Okay, so right now I feel like my skin needs some warming up. What I think is really interesting about her makeup and very beautiful is that her skin looks glowing and warm. There isn't a lot of additional color added, and I feel like this is very 90s. It's not even overtly obvious that she's wearing blush. It looks like she has a little bit maybe of an orange toned or rose toned blush on her cheeks, the very lightest dusting. One thing I'm going to do with my makeup at this point, just to warm it up a little bit, is apply some powder. I'm going to apply a little powder over my face just to even out the tone and do a little bit of mattifying. I'm going to use Gucci's Beauty Powder. I've got the color Matte Natural in 03. It looks like this. Isn't this beautiful? This flips up underneath this little powder puff. I am going to use a powder puff, just this one instead. A little bit larger and a little bit softer. I feel like it helps. Took down some of the radiance of the primer and the foundation, but I still feel like there's plenty of glow coming through. Hi, baby. Chewy has entered the room. Before the blush, I'm going to apply the barest amount of blush, and I'm going to go into this Hourglass Holiday palette from this last season, and I'm totally obsessed with this shade right here. I'm really moving through it. I find it's one of the best blushes I've ever seen on my skin. It's their shade, it's Luminous Rose. It has a little bit of shine to it. And I'm just barely hitting my cheeks. Just barely. I'm gonna leave it right there because it doesn't look to me like Chewy. It doesn't look to me like she has any more on than this. I honestly think that's enough for complexion. Onto the lips. In my mind, I think I have every color lipstick in the world in my collection, but when I tried to find the exact right shade to match Cindy's lips in this photo, I came up short. Here's what I can see from this photo. It looks as though her lips are lined, and then it looks like there's a terracotta rose lipstick applied over them, and it looks like it's a generally medium coverage lipstick with a little bit of luster on it. And most of what I had, anything I had that was in that kind of terracotta rose form was either a gloss, something like that. So what I'm going to do is approximate as close as I can with what I have. I'm going to use a Kevyn Aucoin pencil in lip pencil in medium to line my lips. Cindy's mouth is wider than mine, but her lips aren't necessarily much fuller. I think this pencil alone gives me a pretty credible 90s brown lip, but Cindy's lip is definitely a little bit more of a terracotta rose. I have a shade that will get us closer. This is a Fenty. I honestly can't read the shade name on this lipstick. It's one of the Fenty Mademoiselles. It might be Spanked, but I can't, even with my reading glasses, I can't read it. It is so small. I'm going to show you here because you might actually be able to see it. I don't even know if it's up or down, you guys. It's this one. Between now and when I edit, the name of this lipstick will be a mystery to me. Okay, I'm just gonna put a little bit of this on just to brighten it. This is what the color is. And so I'm applying this just to the top to lift a little bit of the color up, warm it up, make it a little more terracotta. Okay, I'm gonna call this done. This is the final look. It's a very simple and clean look. The only thing left to do would be to draw an artificial beauty mark above my lip, but I'm actually not comfortable with that. I'm not going to do that. I found it really fun to go back in time and look at previous application methods for makeup. I don't think there's anything here that doesn't look totally fresh and modern and wearable. I don't feel like I'm walking out right now looking like I've stepped out of a time capsule. It's a good look. I think Cindy looks beautiful in it. I think on me, honestly, the way I put the makeup on, it's a little more heavy-handed than what is on Cindy in this picture. But I think part of that has to do with the makeup that I'm using. I mean, these eyeshadows in Mario's Master Mattes are extremely pigmented. I wonder if the eyeshadows in the 90s, I remember being a little more weak sauce than they are today. They're a lot more pigmented now, which isn't to say I couldn't have applied them with a lighter hand. I do feel like the payoff of these products is a little more intense, and so I think my eyes came out a little more intense. The Hourglass blush that I use does contain a shimmer. I feel like my cheeks have more of a makeup-y luminosity. I hope you enjoyed this. I had fun playing with 90s trends. I'm going to walk my little dog and then make some dinner before we head out to the symphony tonight. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well out there, and I hope you all have a fantastic week ahead. Thank you so much for watching. Talk soon.